Israel prison services have released footage that allegedly shows that detained flotilla activists. Some of the detained flotilla activists are believed to be held at the Katziot prison in southern Israel. This comes as the Israeli military has intercepted and boarded the Marinette, believed to be the last remaining ship sailing towards Gaza as part of the Sumud Flotilla. Israel has faced international condemnations and protests after its military had intercepted all of about 40 boats in a flotilla carrying aid to Gaza. The global Sumud Flotilla, the organizer of the voyage, has said that more than 450 volunteers have been detained. Meanwhile, the Israeli Foreign Ministry has said in a statement that it was taking all the people it had captured from the flotilla ashore at Ashdod and that all were safe and in good health. Now for this discussion, we're joined by Peter Baum. He's a foreign editor at Weekly Blitz, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Peter, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, Peter, looking at this flotilla, which of 40, all of them are now intercepted, what can we say? What have they achieved and what have they not achieved, and what was their goal there?
Their achievements have been to raise their own individual profiles and to give added propaganda to the saturation propaganda that has been, excuse me, demonizing the Jewish state of Israel. That has been their main achievement, and that was, to answer your third question, their absolute goal, just to continue the propaganda campaign against the Jewish state of Israel in order to demonize it and in order to keep the hostility amongst the pro-Islamic mob, the pro-left, the leftist mob, the communists in the streets of European cities. And to that end, they have certainly achieved that objective. In terms of achieving any objectives for the Palestinians, absolutely nothing. Their cause has not been influenced one way or the other by the flotilla. In fact, we've seen recently, because of Trump's 21-point plan and the fact that the flotilla still feel the need to continue with their campaign, seems to me that they don't have the interests of the Palestinians at heart. They only have self-interest at heart and the interests of demonizing the Jewish state of Israel, which clearly indicates to me there is a huge group of anti-Semites amongst the flotilla, and one also has to recognize how the flotilla has been funded. And we know from documentary evidence that a shell company owned by Hamas hierarchy in Spain is funding the flotilla. So I hope I've answered your questions.
Yes, and now I wanted to ask you about the synagogue attack that has happened today. Do you think it's very late for a British government to finally start increasing security in these religious sites, especially synagogue?
Yeah, isn't it incredible that Jewish people in the United Kingdom have to have protection at their places of worship? This gives you and your viewers and listeners an idea of what life is like for the minority group of Jews in the United Kingdom, fearful of the far left and extreme Islam. And the government, unfortunately, because of the way the voting system works in the United Kingdom, is fearful of losing seats in the next election by not pandering, if they don't pander, to the Muslim mob, to the Islamic mob. And that's exactly what they're doing. Protests, even after the synagogue attack, went on celebrating the attacks in the United Kingdom. And that gives you an idea, again, of the kind of country that the United Kingdom has become. The police have lost control of the major cities. The mayors have lost control of the streets by allowing these violent, racist demonstrations occur almost nightly now, certainly at weekends, and the consequence has been that three people have been killed. The perpetrator of the crime, who was an immigrant, and a Muslim immigrant, and the two worshippers at the synagogue. And Jews in this country at the moment are fearful that similar attacks are going to happen. And all we're hearing is quite crocodile tears from the government and what they're going to do. Jews don't want more protection at synagogues. They want the marches to stop, and they want the perpetrators of the violence to be jailed and not let off, as our judiciary in the UK, once the finest judiciary in the world, are also pandering to the mob. They're fearful.
And Peter, now, thank you for sharing that. Peter, going back to the flotilla news, what plans does the Israeli government have for processing and handling these individuals now that they are in Israel?
Yeah, many of us observers of this flotilla have felt that the way the Israeli government has handled the flotilla is not in the best interest of the Israeli government. Many of us are suggesting, making our voices loud, that the Israeli government should just have let the ships land, let the people get off and walk around Gaza. Let them just do that, see what's life like for them. They should be offered no protection by the Israeli government. They've come under their own pretenses. Obviously, they haven't got tickets or passports or visas to come into the country. But I think rather than stopping the flotilla, taking them off board and then deporting them was probably, from a public relations side of things, a wrong move. And I think there would be less flotillas if those people on board, those activists, were allowed just to get off and wander around Gaza. I can assure you they would not find it palatable, and there'd be very few following them. But that's a matter for the Israeli government. From what I understand, it's gone off quite peaceably. There's been no riots. I understand also that the idea that the flotilla were bringing tons of aid is an absolute myth. In fact, there's very little aid. The only thing that the Israeli authorities have found on the boats has been the food necessary for the activists themselves, and very little in the way of providing anything for the Palestinians, which the Palestinians are being provided for anyway now by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Did you know, just as a matter of course, I've been following the GHF and what they've been doing in Gaza, and for the last 38 days now, consecutively, they have been providing over 1.5 million food aid deliveries to Gazans. And in that time, in that same 38 days, not one NGO nor medical charity working in Gaza has been able to provide the name or identity of one Gazan who has died from famine. So unfortunately, mainstream media are very reluctant to promote those facts, and still we have people believing there's a famine in Gaza when statistics that I've just relayed to you clearly show there is no such famine going on at all.
Actually, because all the journalists there were unalived in this mission, there's very less visuals or information coming in. So where are you getting these information from, Peter?
Right. So I'm getting this information from the United Nations organization themselves, and from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, but all the Western media are promoting are the statistics provided to them by the what they call the Hamas Health Authority. There's no such thing as a Hamas Health Authority. It's a Hamas propaganda arm, which is being relocated in different locations as the Israelis continue their incursion into Gaza. So any journalist with any sense of the ability to research these things can go onto all the major websites such as the GHF, even UNRWA and COGAT, and they will find the same information that I've just relayed to you, which unfortunately is not being widely publicized.
Right. And Peter, is there any, we just a few days ago this week, we found out that Red Crescent is no longer in Gaza. So are there any other international organizations that's still there?
The GHF is there, but UNRWA, because the UNRWA business model has been broken, refuses to work with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Now, just think about this. UNRWA has been the agency completely associated with Palestinians since the 1950s. If UNRWA had been doing its job correctly, there would have been no need for UNRWA. But it's not, because UNRWA facilitates the ongoing conflict, and UNRWA staff have been Hamas operatives too. UNRWA will not work with the GHF, even though the GHF are now the main provider of aid to the Palestinians. Now, if UNRWA really wanted to help the Palestinians, they would be using any channel necessary to assist them, but they're not, which gives you, again, some idea of what the objectives of UNRWA are all about, which is purely to ensure the conflict continues. And unfortunately for them, Trump and the government of Israel have seen through their objectives and are saying no longer we're going to put up with it. And as each day goes by, their influence becomes more and more diluted.
And Peter, lastly, how is this news covered in UK?
Isn't that a great story? Unfortunately, it's not covered in the UK, and let me explain why. The BBC are run by a left-wing ideology, and anything positive regarding the Jewish state of Israel will never be promoted by the media in the mainstream media in the UK. There has been a pushback. For the first time ever, one right-of-centre news channel, GB News, has overtaken the BBC in its daily news coverage in terms of the number of viewers. So we're in the UK at the moment, we have been subject to decades of left-wing, anti-Israeli, anti-Judeo-Christian values and ideology, and for the first time since I've been a political researcher, we have now a pushback where some right-wing media is gaining the upper hand. So all I can say is watch this space. The BBC, I'm afraid, no longer has the trust of the vast majority of the British people. It's known as the biased, bigoted corporation as opposed to the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you very much, Peter, for sharing
My
that
pleasure.
insight. Thank you. Now we move on. The United Nations, in their words, has called the idea of a safe zone in southern Gaza farcical, warning that there is no place for Palestinians to seek shelter amid the ongoing offensive. UNICEF spokesman James Elder, speaking from Gaza, has further highlighted that schools and temporary shelters designated for civilians have been targeted, offering no real protection. Let's listen in.
As we've spoken about many times, going back as far as December 2023, the notion of a safe zone in the south is farcical. Bombs are dropped from the sky with chilling predictability. Schools, which had been designated as temporary shelters, are regularly reduced to rubble. Tents get pitched in areas and they, of course, offer no protection from shrapnel. And indeed, those same tents, as we've seen, are regularly engulfed in fire from air attacks.
Now, United Nations comments came as Israel continues its largest offensive in Gaza this month. Israeli tanks have blocked the main road to Gaza City, preventing residents who have fled from returning. Meanwhile, the Israeli defense minister has described this as the last chance for people to move to south, where Israel claims that it has established a humanitarian zone for displaced Palestinians in Khan Yunis. The United Nations estimates that 600,000 to 700,000 Palestinians remain inside of Gaza City, while those moving south face military vetting as Israel aims to isolate Hamas operatives in the city. Moreover, Palestinian residents report that sand barriers and military checks have made movement difficult, with many choosing to stay rather than leave. Medical facilities have also been impacted, with 4 closing due to the intensifying ground assault.